Ebb and flow inspires persistence and determination during the rhythmical patterns of decline and regrowth in life. Each episode, I bring on an inspiring and influential voices who are here to help us stand strong and walk through the ebb moments of life and propel us to the peak of our health, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so we can live our life in the flow, individually and collectively. This includes strategies, habits, routines, focus tricks, questions, and much more that we can use to live our life in the best way in order to maximize our service to others. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're as excited for the Ebb and Flow podcast as I am. But to make sure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe now on any stream, check out YouTube, or visit solomonezra.com to learn more.
You've seen like you're into exercise, so you've seen like those wobble boards that they have at the gym, where or balance boards. And so there's like a platform, and then underneath it is like this fulcrum that you stand on, and you try to maintain your balance. If you can get it just right, then the you're in balance and you don't fall off the wobble board. And that's, I think, the optimal thing on health is to figure out what makes you feel most balanced. If you feel right. I like saying right, not from a standpoint of what's right for me, but what's right for you and for each person individually. So what I like to do is think about that wobble board in pieces. Like if you were to take that and make it into different pieces of the pie, and let's say one slice of the pie is meditation or stress, kind of stress imbalances. Another slice is digestive. I like to break it up in different systems. And when I'm sitting with a patient, and after I've done a full analysis of hearing them for an hour, physical exam, maybe some blood work, maybe a full workup, then I like to picture where that balance board is tilting, like what part of that system is deficient, and what part of that system is holding up the rest. So like a person might be like over exercising, let's say they're overweight or have gained some weight, but they may be kind of deficient in their nutrients and their nutrient quality, but over exercising in another area. And so we can see that where the deficiency is and help them start there. So some people, the psychology component is really where the need is at the beginning, the mind health. So like if someone comes into my office and they just need someone to talk to, like they need to talk about like what's going on at home, what's going on with their relationships, what's going on with work. And it says they're talking about stuff that's cognitively driven. We need to go there first. And like even though they're like, yes, I have this digestive problem, but I have all this other stuff going on, we need to help them with their stress and balance and support, the counseling, all those aspects, and bring them back. Other patients come in and you ask them like, what's the stress level in your life, and they'll say 1 to 2 out of 10, but I still have this digestive problem. I'm like, wow, that's awesome that your stress level is really good. Let's focus on this digestive piece and get you right for yourself and get you out living your life and out of this office. And that's kind of how you do it. You have to kind of move with where they are. I think we did touch upon it, just the fact that the gut health piece has become something that I have a good sense for, and because of my own experiences with those issues. And even going through medical school, when it came to the gastroenterology course, that was the course that I sailed through. In the physical exam courses, and even in clinical rounds, whenever there was a digestive health issue, it just came more easy to me because I had traveled there. It's like anywhere you've traveled, And I'm not saying like just picked up a book and read about it, but if you've traveled
Experienced it.
somewhere
Yeah.
multiple times, like you know the terrain. And that's kind of how this happened to me. Um, from a very young age, the gut brain gut skin axis was how my stress and my physical imbalances manifested.
It's very interesting. It's actually a great, just also piece of advice. Look at where you've been. Probably is a good idea of showing where you can be successful. Adam, what would you say
Thank you.
is the um, one thing that you find is probably like when you address this to the many clients that you've had, like one common thing that seems to be the one of the main things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that shows up from, I consider myself more of a clinical expert, like, as far as what I've done the most of is seen a lot of patients in this room, here for years and years and years in a clinical setting, and sat with, thousands and thousands of patients and heard their stories. And so the one thing that keeps coming back time and time again, regardless of what condition that I see, is to really listen to what the patient is saying, and to really listen to their story, and remove myself as much as possible. And there is a point where I put myself into the room, and analyze, and offer feedback. But there was a clinician when I first started that said, if you listen to your patients, they'll tell you what's wrong with them. And I thought, well, that seems really basic. And then when I started practicing, I saw how many clinicians just talk, 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 talk. They want to hear themselves talk, and they don't listen. And the patients guide you. And so the one thing I'd say that has passed the test of time is that, the patients will guide me, will guide us, um, to where we need to guide them.
I love it. What would you say is one thing somebody listening could could ask themselves or to do to improve their health?
Yeah, so I'm really, it's interesting in this time of Corona, COVID-19. I one thing that's really stood out for me is how important it is to give up perfection. Um, and like, we can't be perfect during this time, even if you try. It's there's just so many barriers to, whatever perfect is in our mind. So what I would suggest, one thing people would do is to, to give up, this perception of doing all things perfect to feel right, and to whittle it down and actually remove things from their life, so that they're challenging themselves just enough, but not too much. Whether it's striving for a great yoga practice, or for exercise, or eating right, is to whittle it down and say, I don't need to be I don't need to excel in a million different areas to feel whole. Um, what are what's the least amount I can do? What's the most I can do? And try to meet yourself somewhere in the middle, where you're challenging yourself just to that next level. Um, People can create illness by trying to be perfect.
I have definitely my share of experience with that.
We all have, I think. I can say, it's something that has really been a blessing in the COVID-19, because it's like, it really, made a lot of us face, certain physical boundaries that weren't necessarily in front of us
Yeah,
before, and to realize that there's a sweet spot. A lot of people have actually felt happier during these times than they ever have, because there were boundaries placed on on what they could do, when before there was no boundaries or limits, and they didn't feel the edges of their ability to, produce or perform.
yeah. And I wouldn't have made it to Seattle and we've probably been
Yes.
connected.
Yeah, and it's good to be able to talk with you without a mask on for once.
All right, Adam, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for tuning in and listening. I hope this episode brought you some really great value. If you enjoyed any of these episodes or would like to hear more, please leave me a review on Apple or Anchor Podcast. I'm always looking out for topics to learn and talk about, gifts to share, and value to bring to us all. For more updates, please check out solomonezra.wixsite.com/Solomon Ezra. That's SOLOMONEZRA. That's where you can also sign up for newsletters, read about blogs, and hear my different podcasts. Take care.